welcome back. Hope everyone's having a great day. And on today's video, I got something kind of interesting to show you. This is actually one of my personal bikes that I really haven't made any content with. And I think subconsciously, I was trying to just not do too much with it, put it in the corner of my garage and forget about it for 20 years. But reality is, I'm just not Jay Leno and I can't keep everything forever. And my collection is always changing and rotating, and I will find a bike and sometimes I have to sell a bike to buy the next rare special bike. So this bike right here, this is a special bike. Let me show you. So this beauty right here is my 2003 GSXR 1000 with 1,152 original miles. And I made a couple little shorts with this one, but I've never really made a video about it and talked about how I got it and how it survived, you know, what most sport bikes go through, which is wrecks and abuse and all that. This bike is original down to the tires. These are the original tires that came with it. And this bike's never even really been on a freeway. It's just absolutely insane. I got it from the original owner. It was bought brand new at GP Sports in San Jose, California. And I'd have to look at the paperwork. I think he got it either late 03, early 04, but it was brand new. And he rode it only on the weekends with a friend of his every once in a while from when it was new up until 2009, when, like, you know, happens sometimes, he met a new lady and she did not want him riding motorcycles. Rather than sell it though, he did keep it and he would start it up every once in a while. It was kept in climate control in San Jose, California, but 09 was the last year that this bike was on the road. And that's where I come in. So I get a lot of motorcycles from a lot of different places, but one of the really good places that I get motorcycles from is my wife's business, and that is real estate. So I get leads from her, and then also people in her office know that, like, if they're selling a house that has a motorcycle in the garage, there's a good chance that I might want to buy it or whatever, help out in any way that I can, and we do that quite often. So this bike was actually belonged to a client of my wife. She sold his house, and basically he had 4 motorcycles and he did not want to sell them even though he stopped riding. He was an engineer and he really appreciated the engineering that went into the motorcycle, so he would go hang out in his garage and look at them, and he said that brought him a lot of joy. And hey, whatever brings you joy, I'm all about. So he did pretty good as far as he kept starting this one, kept it on a tender, and that up until the last few years, I think, you know, life just got in the way. He was doing some traveling, battery went dead, he had it, you know, he didn't have it on the tender, and then it didn't want to run. So none of the 4 bikes ran. The other bikes, I definitely made some content on. The little Honda Trail 110 that only had like 400 original miles, and it was VIN number 1. Beautiful bike. He also had an RF 900, 1800 mile bike. Crazy, but that one needed a little bit more love. He stopped riding it when he got this one. He just didn't sell it. So that one sat even longer. But it was a nice bike, and then just a DRZ. But this one, I don't know, I fell in love with it and I had to buy it, and it needed some work. It obviously, like I said, it didn't run, but it didn't need a ton of work because it had just been sitting. So it did have gas in it, was stable in it, and it was not that bad. I was actually super impressed. But, you know, had to clean the fuel system out, fresh battery, brake fluid, all the fluids actually went through. And I didn't make this bike like full on the road riding because it has the original tires on it. So obviously, if I was going to ride this bike, I would change the tires. Not because they're worn out, not because they have any cracks in them, But the bike does, you know, like 160 miles an hour, and if you were, you know, just happen to get after it and a tire, because it's so old, comes apart, that would be silly. So you'd want to change the tires, stuff like that. But it does run, it does ride. I've only ridden it around my parking lot and that because I did not register it. You know, I did the title work, but I didn't do the registration part because I just, a bike like this, it's just too nice. And I would be so bummed if anything happened to it. So I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna put this one on the road, I'm just gonna keep it in my collection. And that's what I've done. And it's a beautiful bike. I start it up, I run it, it runs great. I'll show you guys that in just a minute. But it's just been a pleasure to own. And like I said, unfortunately I can't keep them all. And when I find stuff and I need space and money, I end up having to sell some stuff every once in a while, and that's what's gonna happen with that one. And for curiosity's sake, I went through my old paperwork, and you can see the issue date was 3/3/04. So you got it in early 04, we got the factory manual. Of course, you gotta have riding tips, 2 keys with the key code. Let's see. 1,152 original miles. Let's fire it up. This is tricky because I got to use the clutch. All right. There we go. Nice little cold start. I haven't started in a couple of weeks, but I do run it regularly. Purrs like a little kitten. Just an absolute beauty. We're not gonna run it too long in here because we are inside after all. Alrighty folks, I hope you really enjoyed my 2003 Suzuki GSXR 1000. Like I said, I do plan on moving it along. Obviously I don't have like a buyer lined up. I haven't posted it for sale or anything like that yet, but I'm going to in the near future. Possibly, I've never listed a bike on Iconic motorbikes before, but I feel like this is a good fit for Iconic. I've had horrible luck with eBay in the last like couple of years, so I'm really trying not to use them anymore. Basically there's just a bunch of people who bid on stuff, auctions, and then even with good feedback, and then don't pay. It's like the weirdest thing. I have no idea why people do that. So we're kind of staying away from eBay with anything like this that is, I feel like, is a special bike. It's just, you just don't find sport bikes with that low of miles, never wrecked, no scratches. Literally the only thing aftermarket on this bike is this little grip, or this, I can't remember what they call these, but basically it's a belt buckle protector thing so you don't scratch the tank. Easily removed. And I just remembered there's another thing with this bike that I forgot to show you. They do come with a factory seat, and I do have that as well, along with just everything that the bike came with brand new. So pretty neat piece. Not something I'm like an avid collector of, you know, 20-year-old sport bikes. I normally like older stuff and Harleys and that kind of deal, but anything special like this, I feel like is worth saving and getting running and being appreciative. So that's what I did on that one. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. I figured I'd bring it out here in the sun so you could really see how clean this thing is. Just an absolute beauty.